This one domain probably proves an individual selection framework more than anything else out there. Okay, back to our inevitable National Geographic specials, and somewhere at the end of whatever the special is about whatever species, at some point they usually get some narrator with some deep baritone voice come in at that stage and say something like, man is the only species that kills for pleasure. Man is the only, and look at how wonderful and benign these rose bushes are. They don't kill, they don't have war, only humans do it. And what occurred by about the mid-70s or so was enough field workers from a different species reporting, hey, wait a second, we're not the only species that kills. And we will see plenty of domains where that makes sense in the lectures to come, but one particular version really demanded some rethinking about animal behavior, which was as follows. What is one of the universals, whether you start with us and go all the way down to slime molds? It's babies are cute. Everybody likes babies. Babies are adorable. You want to take care of babies. Your eyes dilate as soon as you're around them. And a long-standing notion that what infants, what baby features are about, are among other things, are means to reduce aggression. And we will see in the ethology lectures something about that. That was the standard soundbite forever. And suddenly, you got field biologists coming back from studying various species saying, something's up there because in my species, I see individuals murdering kids all the time. Whoa, what's up with that? Infanticide within a species. Suddenly, not only are humans not the only species that kills, we're like not the only one who goes and kills adorable little Disney infants. Suddenly, all sorts of species popping up where there was infanticide. And the huge challenge then became to make sense of this. This first emerged in the 1970s, studies of langur monkeys in India by someone named Sarah Hurdy, reporting this. Soon it was reported among lions, some other species as well. And the first obvious response to this was, wait, this can't be because I watch all the wildlife specials. There's something growing. Oh, there's some sort of psychopathology going on. This is not a normal population. This is not a normal population because they live close to humans. There's some disturbance. There's a toxic waste dump somewhere. They're not a normal species because you've got the wrong color socks on as the observer, whatever it is. This is not normal. This is pathological behavior. But long enough time goes by and it becomes clear in all sorts of species, individuals kill infants. So what is this about? You start to look closely and there's patterns. There are patterns to it. The first one being that tends to be adult males who kill infants. The next being, you look closely and it's not random who kills who. It's males killing infants who are most likely to be the offspring of, you guessed it, individual selection, most likely to be the offspring of other males. Competitive strategies for reducing some other guy's reproductive success. So this began to be seen in these species that had infanticide. It was male infanticide of offspring who were of kids who were most likely to be the offspring of other males. But more patterns popped up at that time, which is, well, why don't you see that in any social species where you have competition? And what wound up being clear after a while is there's only a certain pattern that you see in species that have competitive infanticide, which is the average interbirth interval among females is longer than the average tenure of a high-ranking male. What? Here's what that means. That means you're some low-ranking guy, you've been working out in the gym for years on end, you're finally in a position to boot out the alpha male and take over the whole group, and damn, every single female in the group has a newborn who they're going to be nursing for the next 2.5 years, so they're not going to be ovulating, and they're not going to be ovulating for about 3 years, and you're likely to be alpha for only a 1.5 years or so, where the length of time on average that you are going to be able to be reproductively active is shorter than the length of time that females in your species nurse kids and thus are not ovulating. And suddenly you have this brutally clear logic that makes perfect sense from everything on Monday, which is go and kill the kids. Go and kill the kids for 2 reasons. Number one, by killing the offspring of some other male, you are decreasing that individual's reproductive success. This competition is leaving as many copies of your genes, etc. Number two, by killing an offspring, the female, by stopping nursing, will soon be ovulating. And thus you see this pattern in langur monkeys, vervet monkeys, paddis monkeys, lions, mountain gorillas and such, where it's always this structure. Competitive infanticide, a male takes over a breeding group and goes about systematically trying to kill the infants. So we've got an enormous violation there of behaving for the good of the species, and baby animals are cute and suppress aggression and all that sort of thing. The clearest demonstration of that is to look at the fact that one of the species where this goes on by this vicious sort of logic of competition, this is one of the species on Earth that is as close to extinction as you can get, mountain gorillas. There's maybe 600-700 of them are left, and these are just like stunning animals, and they are disappearing because of habitat degradation and human presence and civil wars sweeping through there and all that sort of stuff. But also they are facing, I think, inevitable extinction in a decade or two, because every now and then a male mountain gorilla will systematically go and kill the infants around in a group by this logic. You can't ask for a much better demonstration of animals not behaving for the good of the species or the group, this individual selection strategy. So immediately we start applying some rules to this. Well, when's a circumstance that a male would come into a group and boot out the previous reproductive male and take over, and where he wouldn't be all that fast to try to kill all the infants in the group? When would a male take over a group and not be all that thrilled to do this competitive infanticide strategy? Any guesses? Yeah, part 2, individual selection, kin selection. Kin selection, you don't see the competitive infanticide if the males replacing are close relatives, by exactly that logic. So then you begin to see some more elegant stuff going on. In some cases, in a bunch of species, instead of males killing infants, what happens is the presence of a new male causes females to miscarry. Pregnant females to miscarry. One version of this, and this is seen in wild horses, the new male in there harasses pregnant females to the point of them miscarrying. Same exact logic again. In a whole bunch of rodent species, you see something far more elegant. The new male shows up, and if you were a pregnant female, the smell of a new male causes you to miscarry a litter. And the biology of that is completely worked out, going from the olfactory signaling, and we're going to hear tons about olfactory signaling in weeks to come, going from the olfactory system to release of a stress hormone that disrupts uterine maturation, and you abort. Olfaction-induced abortion. What's up with the female with that? Why is that a strategy for her to leave as many copies of her own genes in the next generation? If this guy is around, she's got a choice at that point. A choice, again, metaphorically, she has a choice at that point. Either she can go through the rest of the metabolic costs of pregnancy, give birth to these kids, and then they get killed, or at least she can take the lesser of two evils. He spontaneously aborts at that point, and soon after she is ovulating and has a chance again to pass on copies of her own genes. And this is the whole world of, you put a male hamster in with a female who's just had babies and he goes and eats the kids. Oh, it's psychopathological. It's not psychopathological. Male hamsters are migratory. If there are kids there, they're not likely to have been mine. That's the logical thing. Females having been selected for, if there is the smell of a new male, miscarry. And the same logic again extending, the smell of a new male, unless he's a close relative of the previous male. You see the exact same thing playing out there. Now, all of this, of course, is very sort of male biased in terms of this. These are females sort of making the best of the bad situation. You're some female langur monkey and some new male has come in and is intent on being infanticidal, and you've read evolutionary biology also. What do you want to do to maximize copies of your own genes in the next generation? Well, you've got this kid here who you're trying to protect. Would you protect that child to the point of your being killed? Probably not. And you don't see females doing that. Under what circumstance would a female be most motivated to defend her child to the point of her being seriously injured? Older females. Older females who are less likely to have another child after that. You're on the scene there, and who else from day one would be most willing to get injured in order to protect the kid? The maternal grandmother, who has no reproductive potential at that point. And what you see in these langur monkeys, the females will defend, not to the point of serious injury. The older the mother is, the more strenuously she defends, and the grandmothers defend even more. Following the same logic here playing out in that way. But you also have another option, which is to do something much more clever. And this is not in the world of after you've given birth, but the world of when you are pregnant. Because even in these species that have the competitive infanticide, the new male is also perfectly happy to harass a pregnant female. What have females evolved in a number of primate species? One of the great all-time ways of manipulating males. So you're this pregnant langur monkey, and in comes this new male, and you know you're going to go through like 6 more weeks of pregnancy, and they're going to be enormously costly, and the damn guy's going to kill your kids as soon as they're born, and what can you do, and all of that. And you come up with something very clever physiologically. You go into what is called pseudoestrus. Estrus being the term for when female primates are ovulating or sexually receptive, are in heat, and most primate species give external signs of when they're ovulating. There's engorgement of all sorts of tissues around the vagina and rear end and stuff, and that humans don't do, but they have some of the physiological residues of water retention, for example. So you've got all these external signs of I am ovulating, except you're not ovulating because you're pregnant. You are pseudo-ovulating. You are going through a pseudoestrus. You generate the picture of it. So what happens at that point with this new guy who's just shown up, and here's this like 4-month pregnant female who nonetheless looks like she's going through estrus? Well, these guys sit there then and say, well, that's kind of nice, and they go and mate with her, and like 2.5 weeks later she gives birth, and you know what the guy's going to do? He's going to sit there and say, what's the gestation period in my species? What's it? What's it, like 5 months or something? I've been here 3 weeks and already she's given birth. Whoa, what a guy, what a guy. And they fall for it. They fall for it every time. Females, by having these pseudoestrus things, the males are not infanticidal afterward when the female gives birth. So this whole world that initially makes no sense at all. Oh my God, animals killing members of their own species, even babies, making vicious logic when applying issues of individual selection and the qualifications by way of kin selection.